At 2 in the afternoon, my phone rang. It was my mom. "Run, you have to run," she screamed into the phone, her voice tight with panic. "You have 2 hours. In 2 hours, one of your teachers will turn into a zombie, and the whole school will be overrun." At first, I didn't believe it. It sounded too insane, but the tremor in my mom's voice sent a chill down my spine. I would later learn that she was telling the absolute truth. My mom was trapped in a bizarre time loop, reliving the 2 hours before the zombie apocalypse over and over again. After hanging up, she zelled me $10,000. She told me I had 2 hours to gather at least 2 months' worth of supplies, then lock my doors and windows and hide. My family was comfortable, but $10,000 wasn't a small amount. This was real. "You worthless piece of trash," Coach Davis, the gym teacher, stomped over, his face contorted with anger. "Did I tell you to stand here as punishment or to make a phone call? I've taught a lot of classes, and I've never seen a student as disrespectful as you. You love your phone so much? Fine, you can keep standing here. Don't even think about leaving until you've stood for 2 full hours." I knew he was targeting me. The whole class slacked off when he wasn't looking, but he always singled me out. I have a soft personality. I've always been that way. My mom even took me to a psychologist, hoping to toughen me up, but all we got was a diagnosis. I was a textbook people pleaser. I subconsciously tried to please everyone, swallowing my own grievances and pain. But for some reason, the more I tried to be agreeable, the more I was targeted. The last time, it was because someone in the next class did something embarrassing. Everyone laughed, and I chuckled along. Coach Davis kicked me square in the shin for, in his words, laughing without permission. I honestly didn't know what I'd done to offend him at first. It wasn't until I saw him getting friendly with Chloe, my bully of a roommate, that it all clicked. I glanced at my watch. It was exactly 2 p.m. Seeing me check the time, the coach kicked my shin again, just like last time. "Try looking around again," he snarled. "Stand straight." Under the shade of a nearby tree, Chloe and her friends were eating ice cream, watching the show with smirks on their faces. But this time, something was different. I took a deep breath, and instead of cowering, I just snapped. I kicked back. "Hard," he yelped, grabbing his ankle and hopping around in pain. I didn't waste another second. I just turned and ran like my life depended on it. Chloe rushed over to help the coach, screaming at my back, "Maya, you just assaulted a teacher. Are you insane? You better not ever come back, or you're dead." Who cares? In 2 hours, it was questionable if any of them would still be alive. I didn't look back, my mind racing. Only 2 hours. The dorm was out of the question. There were 6 of us in the suite, and the other 5 all bullied or isolated me. Luckily, because of that, I'd started looking for an off-campus place from the second day of the semester. Just yesterday, I'd found the perfect spot not far from the university, a 13th floor loft apartment. The rent was $1,500 a month, and I'd paid for the whole semester up front. I never imagined it would become my salvation. The 13th floor was a bit high for hauling supplies, and going up and down would waste precious time. Every second counted. My breathing quickened. As I ran, I pulled out my phone. First things first, place some online orders. I was worried that buying too much at once would attract attention. The apartment building had only one main entrance, and there was always a security guard at the door. Hauling that many supplies would look suspicious, and I was going to be alone for the foreseeable future. With that in mind, I moderately ordered some vegetables, eggs, and meat. I couldn't really cook and had no concept of quantities, so I just guessed. Adding things to my cart, the vegetables cost about $300, and various meats came to nearly $600. I couldn't cook, but it was better to have it and not need it. I also ordered a full box each of cold medicine, anti-inflammatories, bandages, and iodine from an online pharmacy. While placing the delivery orders, I burst into the campus convenience store. I grabbed a shopping basket and cleared the shelves of all the instant foods. About 50 packs of ramen, 50 packs of other instant meals. Just like that, the basket was full. I glanced around and my eyes landed on the luggage for sale. Without even checking the price, I grabbed the 2 largest suitcases and brought them to the checkout counter, then continued to use the space in the suitcases to load up on more supplies. Instant foods, enough for about a month, filled one suitcase. I bought about 30 of the 1.5-liter bottles of water. These were absolute necessities. I had to get them back to the apartment. no matter what. My survival for the next 2 months depended on them. Seeing the mountain of instant food at the counter, the cashier blinked. You're buying all of this? My heart was pounding, and my forehead was slick with sweat. I nodded. Yeah, can you ring it up quickly? I'm in a hurry. As if to spite me, the process was slow. The cashier scanned each item one by one. Just then, the store's automatic door slid open and a group of girls walked in, chatting. Does an ice pack really work? Of course it does. Didn't you see how swollen the coach's ankle was? That kick from Maya was vicious. So brutal. Suddenly, they stopped, all of them staring at me at the checkout counter. Chloe narrowed her eyes. Maya. I ignored her, focusing on carefully placing my ramen, a large bag of bread, and a jar of sriracha into my suitcases. I checked the time, 2:20 p.m. I could probably manage at least 2 more trips with these giant suitcases, and in less than 100 minutes, this place would become a living hell. Chloe walked over, arms crossed, and sneered at my instant food. Where are you running off to? A refugee camp? She asked in a syrupy, mocking tone. A pack of ramen for $2.50. She bought so many. I guess for $2.50, you can't even get a side dish in the cafeteria, but you can get a full meal of ramen. How pathetic. When I didn't respond, just carefully packed my food and zipped up the suitcases, her friends chimed in. Some people have probably never had anything good in their lives. They treat this crap like treasure. It's actually really sad. I snorted quietly. Laugh it up. Keep laughing. You have no idea that in a month, you'd be fighting to the death for one of these cheap bags of noodles. By the time I dragged the 2 massive suitcases to my apartment building, it was 2:40 p.m. And just my luck, both elevators were stuck on the 20th floor, not moving. A voice suddenly came from behind me. That's a lot of luggage to handle by yourself. I jumped, spinning around to see a bald man in his early 50s. He was wearing a security guard's uniform, short and dark-skinned. He stood with his hands behind his back, sizing me up. His small eyes glinted as he squinted, asking casually, "Hey there, little lady, what's in the bags? Need a hand?" I just moved in. It's just clothes and stuff, I said, dragging the suitcases away from him. No thanks, I can manage. Thankfully, an elevator finally arrived. I quickly pulled my luggage inside. To my dismay, the security guard followed me in. In the cramped space, I could feel his eyes boring into my back. What floor are you going to? I asked, turning to face him. He waved a hand dismissively. Don't worry about me. I didn't say anything else and pressed the button for the 10th floor. Even though my apartment was on the 13th, I had a bad feeling about him. When the doors opened on the 10th floor, I dragged my suitcases out. After making sure the guard hadn't followed, I switched to the other elevator and went up to the 13th. Unlocking the door, I immediately dumped the contents of the suitcases onto the floor. Just then, my delivery orders started to arrive. The entryway was soon piled high with bags and boxes. I hastily packed the empty suitcases and headed back down to the convenience store near the apartment for another run. After 2 more trips, I checked the time. There were 25 minutes left until the outbreak. I could have probably squeezed in 1 more trip, but I didn't dare risk it. Looking at the mountain of supplies I'd accumulated, I decided to call it a day. This was enough to last me, a single person, for half a year, let alone 2 months. I had large containers of rice, flour, and oil. I'd stockpiled 100 packs of ramen, 20 self-heating meal kits in different flavors, 15 packs of spicy noodles, and 10 bags each of frozen dumplings and wontons. On top of that, there were sausages, chips, and all sorts of snacks. For drinks, I had not just bottled water but a variety of sodas and juices. The fridge was stuffed with fresh vegetables and meat. I'd also hoarded daily necessities. Just in case, I bought 5 phone chargers and 10 power banks. I'd seen in disaster movies that zombies are sensitive to sound, and since I'd lost one of my earbuds, I made sure to buy 2 new pairs at the store. With everything ready, I double-bolted the door and dragged the living room coffee table in front of it as a barricade. Then, I turned off the lights, drew the curtains, and collapsed onto the sofa, utterly exhausted. Looking at my hoard of supplies, I felt a strange sense of triumphant relief. During all this, my mom had tried to video call me several times, but I'd missed them. I finally had a moment to text her back. Learning that my parents had also prepared supplies and secured their home, both waiting for 3 p.m. to arrive, was a huge comfort. Even though we were in different cities, knowing we were all in safe, Well-stocked environments gave me a profound sense of peace. I chatted with my parents in our family group chat while peeking through a crack in the curtains. From the 13th floor, I had a clear view of the campus field. It was dismissal time, and students were laughing and walking around, completely oblivious to the nightmare about to unfold. I closed the family chat and glanced at my class group chat. It seemed I had become infamous. The campus forums, social media, and gossip pages were all flooded with posts criticizing me. Though the posts were anonymous, I knew Chloe was behind them. From the first day we were assigned as roommates, she'd been a nightmare. Chloe was beautiful and had been crowned the campus belle within the first week of school. She was arrogant to the core. She decided I was weird because I was quiet and claimed I had psychological issues. Her teasing quickly escalated into something much crueler. I vividly remember one time in the cafeteria, she saw me meticulously cleaning my plate. She laughed scornfully and said, "Wow, you eat so clean. They won't even have to wash that plate. No wonder you're so fat." Honestly, if I were as fat as you, I wouldn't want to live. Was I really fat? I'm 5 feet 5 inches and 120 pounds. I never understood it. Chloe and her friends seemed to believe that wasting food was a point of pride. Back then, my people-pleasing personality made me endure her taunts. I was always terrified of making my relationships with others worse. But now, suddenly, a scream from downstairs shattered my thoughts. I looked out and saw the campus field erupt into chaos. People were screaming and running in every direction. A few individuals were walking with unnaturally twisted necks, roaring and lurching. I checked the time again. The minute hand was pointed at 3:50 p.m. What was happening? Did the outbreak start early? A cold sweat broke out on my skin. I was so glad I hadn't been greedy for more supplies. If I had gone down for a third trip at 3:35 p.m., there's no telling if I would have made it back up unharmed. The curtained apartment was dim. The silence in my fortress was a stark contrast to the panicked chaos outside. The spread of the zombies was much faster than I had imagined. The grounds below were already swarming with clusters of pale-faced zombies with twisted necks. They seemed to feel no pain, driven only by the instinct to bite and attack. Their numbers grew rapidly. Even though I was mentally prepared, the sight was still deeply unsettling. I quietly closed the curtain and grabbed a carton of milk, taking a few gulps to calm my nerves. Before long, the sounds of running and screaming echoed from the hallway outside my apartment. I looked at my heavily locked and barricaded door, knowing that as long as I didn't open it or make a sound, I wouldn't attract them. But the sounds outside were heart-wrenching. "Open the door, please, open the door." It sounded like a girl my age. She was probably another student who lived off campus. "Ryan, I know you're in there. I just went out to buy a few things. The zombies weren't on this floor when I came up. Just open the door a crack and let me in. Please, I'm begging you. You said you loved me. Didn't you just promise me yesterday we'd get married after graduation? Open the door." The girl's desperate sobs were especially tragic in this new, chaotic world. I sighed. It sounded like a couple. The girl went out to buy something, and when the outbreak happened, the boyfriend locked the door on her. I felt a pang of pity. My soft nature and people-pleasing personality were kicking in. For a moment, I actually hesitated, wondering if I should open a door to life for this girl. As she said, the zombies hadn't reached this floor yet. If I was willing to open my door, it would be her lifeline. Just then, my phone screen lit up. It was a text from my mom. "Don't open the door." I froze. Did my mom install a camera in my apartment? How else could she know I was debating whether to let the helpless girl in? "Mom knows you've always been kind, with a soft heart. That's why you always get taken advantage of and bullied. But you need to understand, people are far more terrifying than you can imagine. In a chaotic world, there's no room for kindness. You think that girl outside is pitiful, right? You think people will repay kindness with kindness, but what you don't know is that in the end, to save herself, that same girl pushed you into a horde of zombies. Daughter, that's how you died in one of my loops." Reading that, a cold sweat beaded on my forehead. I stood motionless, a chill creeping through my heart. The next second, without any hesitation, I went back to my bedroom, plugged my headphones into my phone, put one earbud in, pulled the covers over my head, and started watching an anime. The screams and pleas from outside no longer had anything to do with me. All I wanted now was to survive and hopefully, one day, be reunited with my family. It turned out just as I'd predicted. As long as I had enough supplies, kept the curtains drawn, and stayed silent, the zombies wouldn't notice me. I survived the first day peacefully. morning, noon, and night. I shared updates and encouragement with my parents in our family group chat. All of us focused on the goal of reuniting safely. On the fourth day of the apocalypse, the streets were a hazy gray, roamed by hordes of walking dead. There wasn't a living person in sight. The entire city had fallen into a deathly silence. Many people's supplies were already gone. Drones carrying supply drops flew through the sky, randomly dropping food packages. Each time a package landed, it would attract countless zombies, roaring and clawing at it. But who would actually dare to go out and get it? Some people, driven by unbearable hunger, tried to sneak out and grab supplies. The slightest mistake meant being torn apart by hundreds of zombies. I was afraid the internet and power would eventually go out, so I had already fully charged all 10 of my power banks and downloaded a bunch of movies to pass the time if I went offline. 1 week into the apocalypse, my supplies were still piled high, my greatest source of security. That afternoon, I got a notification for a group chat mention. I opened it. It was the dorm group chat. Someone had tagged me. It was Chloe. Are you still alive? Chloe, where are you hiding? We haven't seen you back at the dorm. Do you have any food? I briefly scanned the messages and then tossed my phone aside, not planning to reply. About 10 minutes later, my phone lit up again with several more tags, all from the same person. Chloe, Maya, are you ignoring us? Chloe, say something. Chloe, I know you have food. When the outbreak started, I saw you at the campus store. You bought 2 whole suitcases full of stuff. Chloe, stop pretending you can't see this. You have so much food. What's the big deal with sharing some with us? Chloe, Maya, you can't be this selfish. Do you have any idea how many days it's been since we've eaten? Oh, I knew. Of course, I knew. There was no way they had much food in the dorm. Chloe and the others were probably living off whatever leftovers and snacks they had. Now, 7 days later, the 5 of them had likely run out of everything. As it happened, I had originally planned a trip with my parents to the Northwest for a holiday and had bought a drone to capture the scenery. It had just arrived less than a week ago, still in its packaging on my coffee table. If I wanted to, I could easily tie some light food to it and fly it over to them under the cover of darkness, taking advantage of the zombies' poor night vision. The old me would have done everything in my power to help them. But now, after just a few days in this new world, after seeing the true colors of human nature, it was like a switch had flipped in my head. I realized what a complete and utter doormat I'd been. A total pushover. Chloe had bullied me for so long because she knew I was soft. If she had come to me now, begging for a bite to eat, I might have considered it. But this attitude? This entitlement? I picked up a slice of bread, took a bite, and then snapped a picture of it. I sent it to the group chat. Delicious. That's right. I was doing it on purpose. Within seconds, Chloe and her friends exploded.